Palisades.
Sorry
about that.
Okay.
So we've assigned deputies from our unhoused committee who work with mental health as well. They're in touch with all of the individuals on Palisades, trying to get them in touch with services and stable housing. But I do want to say that we balance that with not allowing them a free pass to do whatever if they're littering or creating fires or doing something dangerous to the public. We obviously still take enforcement action. So we're trying to kind of wear two hats with that. While we want to encourage them and give them resources to help their situation, we also don't want to put an undue burden on the community. So we have been spending a lot of time on Palisades and are working towards getting that in a better situation. And we obviously are coming up into the 4th of July weekend. We have doubled our staffing from normal. We have our entire station, every single deputy has been mandated to work. So we're at maximum staffing for that day. We'll be focusing obviously on fire safety and fireworks and disturbance calls and things of that nature. We are obviously in a very dry year, so we want to mitigate the fireworks as much as we can so we don't have a undue fire spread or things of that nature. We're also pairing up with CAL FIRE. They're going to have our deputies ride along with them on certain shifts and just try and have a high presence out there in the community. And as always, happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Are there any council members?
Yael has.
Yael.
Thank you, Sergeant Langston. And I am the chair of the Unhoused Residents Committee of Locac, and I've been working together with Paul Hirschfield, another member, almost daily on Palisade, mostly providing clean garbage bags and lending hand cleaning up the place. I have to say that the Palisade has been much cleaner than when we started, and it's cleaner every day. And in the same time, the presence of deputies, which is very appreciated. And many times the deputies have been actually saving lives and mediating a bad day for a person mentally. So I really appreciate your work. However, as far as the threat and for fines and giving fines for litter to people that obviously don't have money, while they're working really hard. I mean, today we came back from there. Yesterday we spent time, and I know how the place looked before and how it looks now. We filled up 3 huge bins twice a week, and they are working with us. So I can reassure you that they're doing their best, and living out on the street without having home and backyard and front yard and not having a kitchen with garbage and so on and so forth. It's not as easy to keep it as clean up to par as our usual streets, but it's really is relatively doing really well, while the presence of deputies and car deputies is increasing. It's increasing daily and it's increasing nightly. Last night, like the night before, lights have been shown inside people's cars at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not giving any reason. Sometimes it's like, keep your area clean at 3 o'clock in the morning. Deputies stopping at during the day, at 10 o'clock at night last night, letting people know that they don't have much time left to be there, when we know that it's not correct. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up.
Yeah. Do you have an actual question? Do you have a question?
No, this is a comment. It's not a question. Our question is there a way to mitigate and to provide more support to what the residents are trying to do with our help, rather than fine them or threaten to fine? Because I reassure you, they're working really hard, because I'm working really hard with them.
Sure, thank you for the input. First and foremost, I would agree with you that a 3 a.m. reminder to clean up your trash is probably not appropriate. So I will readdress that with the station and remind them of reasonable expectations of times to contact people. I would tend to agree 3 a.m. No one wants to get woken up and is going to be in a receptive manner to whatever is being said. And I do assure you that Deputy Knowles, who's our liaison, I have the utmost confidence in him. He's a very nice guy. He has the best heart, and no one is wanting to use fines or citations as a punitive way of dealing with the issue. It would only be in the most extreme situations, and I've tried to make that clear to the deputies in my station. And if for whatever reason you feel that that's being levied in a different manner, then please feel free to contact me and we can have a conversation about it. And I'm always open to suggestions from the community on that.
Thank you. I will definitely do that because I want us to be on the same side. I want us to be a team. I want us to build community there. Very much needed community there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions from council members? I don't see any hands up. Any questions from the community for Sergeant Langston? Paul?
Yeah, hi. Hi, thanks for joining us. So there was some, maybe you know about this, there was a hit and run or something at Palisades and LOVR today or yesterday. Has there been some kind of big increase in hit and runs? We heard some mention of that by somebody. And if that's the case, where are those things happening? Thanks.
Paul, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to give you any decent information on that. All the vehicle-related reports go to the Highway Patrol in unincorporated areas, which Los Osos is one of them. So you'd have to contact the Highway Patrol for those stats. I don't have them. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But we will have that next. In any other community questions to Sergeant Langston?
And
Nope.
just a reminder for the community to raise your hand at the bottom of your screen. There should be a reactions icon. And if you click on that, there should be a raise hand feature, or you can wave frantically and I'll try to see you.
All right, then let's go to Captain Klingenberg, please. With the Highway Patrol.
Good evening. As I'm watching this, I appear to have a bit of an unstable connection, so I'll apologize in advance if I miss something or if I'm not working as I should on this meeting. So, but I'll do my best. So I will start with the month of May. The statistics that we had for the month of May, we had 5 collisions in and around the Los Osos area. Of those 5 collisions, to address Mr. Hirschfield's comment, we had 3 of those 5 were hit and run collisions. The locations of the hit and run, one was at Pecho Valley Road and Pecho Road, west of it. The other one was also, oh no, hold on. Looks like they gave me a duplicate. Oh, come on. Yeah, that's a duplicate. So we only had 4 collisions. And 2 of those are hit and runs. None of the collisions resulted in injuries. One of the collisions, which is not the hit and run, not one of the 2 hit and runs collisions, was a DUI collision. So just to reiterate on the hit and runs, the locations. One was at Pecho Valley Road, west of Pecho Road. The other was on 12th Street, south of Napomo. That is where an unknown vehicle struck a parked vehicle there at 12th and Napomo. The Pecho Valley Road collision was a solo vehicle that struck a curb, and it looks like it may have then continued and struck some other structure. We just list the initial damage causing event on our report. So 4 collisions, 2 hit and runs. One of them is a DUI collision. We also made 4 DUI arrests for the month of May. One of those, like I said, was as a result of a collision that occurred. As far as today on Palisades, I do not have that information as far as what happened there just yet. But I will have that. I certainly will have it by next month, or if you'd like that in an email, I can maybe email some details about that as well. Other than that, I am also open for any questions.
Any questions from council? No. Any questions from the community? No. Well, thank you very much. All right, let's go to county staff report. Pardon?
I thank you for your time. I apologize.
Thank you. County staff report. Can we start with Carrie Brown from the planning department?
Good evening. I don't have too much to report tonight. Just the Morrow Shores project, which went to the Planning Commission on June 10th, was approved. And as I left the office today, I got word that we received an appeal for that project. I have not had a chance to take a look at it, but it was the Los Osos Sustainability Group. And that's all I really had to report tonight.
Okay. Any questions from council? No. Any
Yeah.
questions from?
Yes.
Sue?
Oh, sorry, I
Sue.
couldn't find my raised hand. I got the wrong one. Carrie, I have a question for you. As you know, after we have our meetings, we send you information as to the action that we've taken as a council so that it can help you, or at least the people that are making decisions in your department can look at what we've decided or what we've ruled and take that into consideration or not. But something happened several months ago that I haven't had a chance to talk to you about. I emailed you a couple of times, never heard back. And you've been absent for a couple of meetings. I was absent one. So here we are. Get to the point, I know. The Morrow Shores project, someone from the planning department asked Trish if the land use committee had decided they would allow Morrow Shores to go ahead, provided that they do 2-to-1 offsets. She apparently looked in minutes, couldn't find any information. Now, I sent that information to you and to the department, whoever was project manager on Morrow Shores. It's in our minutes, and it was done in capital letters, bold, underlined. Yet nobody seems to have that information. And that seems to be our one goal, is to express to you what we're doing and why we're doing it and the feelings of the community. And if you're not receiving any of this information, then something's wrong, and we're not getting to do our job. So can you explain to me how we can fix this?
I don't think this is a problem. I received your comments. They were included in the staff report. I remember when the project was heard, the applicant had mentioned that at a later land use committee meeting, Morrow Shores was discussed, and that that Locac was supportive with 2-to-1, which was already what you had recommended. So I think that might be the question. So we asked, were there comments at a future at another land use committee meeting after the January full Locac meeting? Was Morrow Shores discussed, and were there any further comments? That's what we were just trying to find out.
Oh, okay, that wasn't clear. So I apologize, but that wasn't clear.
Okay.
Okay, so you're getting our information. We're all okay, and we're doing our job, and I can let that go.
You guys are doing great, and we love including also the minutes too, so that any decision maker can see the deliberations and the comments that are made.
Do you want us to send you our minutes when we're done? They're usually done 2 to 3 days after a meeting. So do you want us to send those to you as well?
That would be great.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Carrie from the council?
Oh, glad that.
All right, Anyone from the community that has a question for Carrie? I don't see any. All right, thank you very much, Carrie.
Thank you.
Next up is going to be Laura Holder from the county.
Do we need a report from Supervisor Gibson or is that?
Somebody's audio is on. That is.
We moved from the regular agenda, Laura up just before Supervisor Gibson, because it is a county staff report. So we're going to include it here. Is Laura available and unmuted?
I don't see Laura. Oh, there
Yeah,
she
I
is.
see her.
Okay, sorry. Here I go. We can't hear you, Laura. Can you hear her? You're unmuted.
Somebody that we can hear their background at home. Can they turn off can you mute?
That's me. I'm sorry. I'm trying to mute, but my kids are in the back, but I'll keep muting.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Holder, Program Manager with Utilities Division, and I have a short presentation if I can share my screen.
All right, let's see if I can do this. All right. I think,
Can you make her co-host?
yeah.
I think
All
I
right.
have it now. Great.
Okay.
Thank you. And
Yes.
yeah. So this is just an update about the sewer rates for the Los Osos Water Recycling Facility and the folks in Los Osos in the prohibition zone that are connected to the sewer. And just wanted to bring to your attention that last year on April 21st, there was, after a Prop 218 process, an ordinance was adopted increasing the sewer service charges in Los Osos. And they were to be in effect on July 1st. And even though they were supposed to go into effect July 1st, the board actually postponed them 30 days after, until 30 days after the termination of the proclamation of local emergency. And this was for COVID. So after a full year actually of deferred rate increases, the system experienced a revenue loss of about $774,000. And it resulted in the inability for the system to build any financial reserves. They had to postpone a lot of the capital improvements and get some assistance to help the system even make it through the fiscal year. So now that the state reopened on June 15th, staff recommended to the board that the rate increase be implemented in order to get the system back on track with its safety and maintenance schedule and to start building those reserves back up. So the Board of Supervisors approved the staff recommendations on June 22nd, and the 2021-22 rate increase will begin August 1st. So this is just a sample of what it could look like per month for an average user, and this would include the sewer assessment. So, and this is just a monthly estimate. So I wanted to also just let everyone know that there's actually financial assistance program that the county has implemented with the state, in conjunction with the state. It's called Home is Key, and I wanted to let you know that it's eligible for tenants and landlords that have any unpaid rent or utilities from April 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2021. It's a great program. There's a lot of assistance out there, and you can actually contact me, Laura Holder, at the county. I have my contact information at the end of this presentation. You can also Google Home is Key. You can go to our recoverslow.org page and find it. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We haven't had a huge response from people applying for it, so anyone can get the word out, that would be great. So does anyone have any questions? I wanted to be available to answer any questions anyone has.
Are there any questions from council members?
Yes, me.
Lynette.
Would you possibly have this presentation online somewhere?
I can certainly make it available online, sure.
Oh, thank you. Where would I find it?
I can go ahead and send it to the council, if that's okay. I'll send a link.
Sure.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. And then you can also always contact me. Here's my phone number, my email address, and the council can also get a hold of me.
Thank you. Are there any other council questions for Laura?
I have a question. Again, sorry for my background noise. I have family here. What kind of outreach has been done? You mentioned a lot of people haven't applied. I'm just wondering where.
Sure. It's on our recover. It's on our website. So the recoverslow.org website. It's on all of our pages on the county when folks can pay their utility bill online. It's going to get pushed out into PG&E bills, I hear, as an insert. It's also on a message on some billing statements that we have out there. It's on several of our county web pages. So the information is definitely out there. And then of course the state is also advertising it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from members? Trying to scroll over. Any questions from the public? Okay, I don't see any.
Okay.
All right, Laura, thank you so much for presenting tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
All right, thank you. Next up will be Supervisor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and pleasure to be with you, and congratulations for assuming leadership of this fine organization. Certainly look forward to working with you, and certainly also appreciate the work of your predecessor, Mr. Carstairs, who seems to be taking a vacation this evening. I don't see him here, but as I said, let me just fill in a couple of details following on from Laura's presentation here. The actual actions of this, so you don't get confused, are really a two-step process. At our meeting 2 days ago, the board went ahead and decided to reinstate the rates according to the schedule that was passed with it on the 218, when the 218 vote went through. So it will come in at year 2 rates as if no pandemic had occurred. I think it's key to note that that rent relief and utility relief package is out there, and more money may be available through other programs. So if you come across anybody who's going to have a difficulty making this, please don't hesitate to have them contact my office. There is a second step that the board has to take, and that will be a hearing on August 10th to formally put these assessments on the property tax bills. While Laura showed you the month broken down as a monthly charge, as you'll recall, sewer charges are put on the property tax bills, paid in the typical 2 installments or via other means as people can accommodate. So that if you see an item agendized for August 10th, and I may remind you when we come to the July meeting, that's what that is. That's just the formality of getting them out there. You know, the one thing I will say, one of the big things we've talked about in the county is the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds that have arrived. And if you think about it, when we deferred, raising the rates last year from July 1, 20 to July 1, 21, as Laura indicated, the system lost money. We're going to be able, Public Works is working up an application to use ARPA funds to restore the revenue that would have been generated if we had raised rates. So essentially what we're seeing is that the first year of the new rates, the increase is almost certainly going to be covered by ARPA funding. So that's going to help the system catch up. So wanted you to know about this. There was one other community, Shandon, with its water rates, was held in a similar situation. And in fairness, their water rates went to their increased levels by board action this past Tuesday as well. So again, if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to contact me and the office. As I indicated, and as you may know, now probably about 10 days ago, we started our budget hearings on Monday, June 14th. And in that day, we went ahead and approved the budget for fiscal year 21-22, which is going to start on July 1st. Around rough terms, $600 million budget, balanced as it has to be, but more easily balanced this year because of state and federal aid that has come in considerable amounts. On the next day, on Tuesday the 15th, we considered the ARPA funding package, which is going to bring about $55 million to the unincorporated county that the Board of Supervisors will have discretion over. And we sorted that into a number of different, as we called them, buckets, general categories of expenditure, again, all COVID related or COVID impact related, and or to the benefit of infrastructure, namely water, sewer, and broadband internet. And out of that is going to come a process by which agencies can propose uses of those monies that are consistent with the federal guidelines. One thing that is of real importance to me is a proposal that's coming forward from a tremendous coalition of agencies, including the first 5 commission, which I have the great pleasure of chairing, to make investments in early childhood initiatives, let's call them. We know that for families with children, childcare is a tremendous challenge, and the COVID pandemic has really hit us hard. We lost over 1,000 spots of businesses that for one reason and another, childcare facilities that for one reason or another ceased operating. We were already way behind in being able to provide those things. And so this coalition's come together and provided a really great proposal, in concept proposal, where we would invest money to the benefit of children by helping create new childcare facilities, for helping families pay for childcare if they're low income, for helping to raise the wages of and to help train new childcare workers, because we know that workers that provide childcare are paid very poorly, certainly not commensurate with the importance of the job that they do. And we're also very interested in particular in providing mental health support, especially for very young children, 0 to 5, who many of whom have been very seriously affected by the pandemic. I am encouraging this coalition of agencies to come forward with big, bold proposals, because this is something that the pandemic has laid really plainly at our feet, that we need to do better by our children. And in doing so, we'll do better by their families. And in doing that, we'll do better for our communities and better for our economy. So the ripple out effects, we won't call it trickle down. It is certainly rippling out. I see great potential for helping families navigate a future. And I think out of the crisis of the pandemic is going to come, not just in this county, in this state, but all over the country. I think we may see a much increased commitment to providing quality childcare. So that's my particular passion. Other supervisors are oriented otherwise, and that's fine. But again, as the summer goes on and we get later in the summer, we'll see where that goes. Beyond that, our board did meet in person this past Tuesday. It was good to be back on the dais and more or less back to normal, such as normal is these days. I understand that your council is considering whether and how to go to in-person meetings. From my perspective, I'm quite flexible. Whatever your council wants, if you go back in person, I would be happy. Being fully vaccinated myself, I'd be more than happy to show up in person. If you do go to in-person meetings, Blake and I will work to reinstate the office hours that we hold at Sea Pines from 4 to 5 on the day that you all meet. If you want to stay with Zoom, that's fine too. I'm happy to accommodate however you want to go. Lots of other things, of course, happening at the county.
I might just give me a moment.
I would be happy to talk about them if you're of interest, but at this point, I'm here for your questions.
Are there any questions from council members?
I have a question. I'm wondering if there would be support, like I know hybrid options are difficult with tech and whatever. I know some agencies have been doing, but I'm wondering if we wanted to explore that or try that, could we get support from IT or from the county in trying to make that happen?
Well, if your council wants to hold hybrid meetings, I'm certainly happy to work with you to augment your, the money that comes from community project funds. And that reminds me that cycle is coming up fairly soon. I'm not a great expert in exactly what kind of technology you need. I think you need a fairly large screen television and the appropriate cameras and Zoom connections. I did attend a hybrid meeting of the Chamber of Commerce up in Cambria, San Simeon, and that seemed to work reasonably well. So if the council's interested and needs some help getting there, I'm certainly happy to talk with you and we can make a reasonable investment. I would remind, and I don't remember offhand who now holds the purse strings for your council, but it is coming up time to think about your budget. On July 1st, my community project funds get replenished. And one of the first things I want to do is make the grants to the councils to keep them going for the next year. So by August 1st, if your treasurer working with your officers could figure out, how much money you have in the bank right now, what your expenses for August 1st to the next August 1st would look like, and calculate the difference, I would be happy to fund up your account so that you can continue your good work. Of course, when I say I really mean Blake, but I know you know that. So
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Supervisor Gibson? Any questions from the community? I don't see any raised hands. Okay, thank you very much, Supervisor Gibson. Who is here tonight from CSD?
I thought I saw Matthew.
Oh,
Yeah,
there,
okay.
Matthew.
Okay, hello, my name's Matthew Fourcroy. I'm a director on the Lososo CSD. And I have a few updates for you tonight. I haven't been to Locac in a while, so I'm glad to see some familiar faces. I'm really looking forward to some of the in-person meetings that I think are coming up soon. So our board, we will be going back in-person meetings for the committees in July. And our first board of directors meeting in person will be the first Thursday in August. So that's our plan. I have an update that I'm actually really excited about tonight. It's basically news on success. So we have finished and completed our Farrell Street pathway. This is coming out of the CSD's Parks and Rec Committee. Basically, we paved a pathway between Farrell Street and 7th Street in Los Osos. And it came out, I think, really, really well. We have a split rail fence down one side, and it's already getting quite a bit of use. So I really think that's going to be a nice addition to mobility through town, especially going from maybe Baywood up towards the park and the community center. So that we're actually going to hold our Parks and Rec Committee meeting on site at the Farrell Street pathway on the 20th. So July 20th at 5:30. We're going to hold that meeting on site. It's going to be a bit of a little ribbon cutting ceremony to celebrate getting that project done. So we've been working on that for a couple of years. The other things of interest right now, I think, for most people are we're working on engineering documents for our Program C well. And we expect to have that at the August board meeting for discussion. So that's a basin management well. Program C well is in Bay Ridge, so it's basically near the corner of Bay Oaks and South Bay Boulevard is where that well is being planned. And then the other item that we're working on is working with the other two water purveyors to draft a water supply letter for ADUs. We're working on a coordinated response, and that's to avoid dividing the community into sections as far as different rules in different parts of town. So that's also something that's going to be discussed here at the next board, or not in July, but in August. So we have quite a few important topics at our August meeting, which will be our first in-person meeting. With that, I'll let you ask for questions, but that's my update for tonight.
Thank you. Any questions from council members? I think I saw Yael.
And James, okay.
It's not a question, but I want to congratulate you on the Farrell Trail. I use it quite a bit. So and I've seen it develop over time. So, and I hope it will keep developing. I mean, there is an area there to really, I'm sure that you guys are going to work some more, but it's really pretty and very useful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I encourage anybody with any interest in that trail at all to come to our Parks and Rec meeting on the 20th. I think it's going to be a nice community event. And hopefully we'll get some good pictures to post around the county on our various outlets to draw some attention for Los Osos in a really positive way.
Yeah,
Thank you. James?
Yeah, I just wanted to second what y'all said. I really appreciate the trail. I used to ride my son to the library on his little trailer, and then have to get off and drag it through the sand there. And now we can just ride to the library. It's great. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate the work on that.
Yeah, thanks, James. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it.
Anyone from the community that would like to ask a question or have a comment? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Chamber of Commerce report. Lynette?
Yes, we have a report. The chamber has a new version of last year's Festival of Flavor. There's going to be 12 local restaurants in Los Osos that are participating. I'll give you the two places where you can go to buy this passport. It's $35 each, and I wouldn't take all the time to give you the 12 restaurants in Los Osos that are doing this. You can pick up the passport at the chamber office Thursday, June 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. or at Nardoni's Wednesday through Sunday from 3 to 8 p.m. and they're down in Baywood Park. And our directory is in transit. It should have been here by now, but they had problems printing it due to lack of staff at the printing press. And FedEx has it, and they just haven't scheduled a delivery. I believe it's in San Luis Obispo County, sitting around somewhere. So hopefully we'll have that very soon. And that is my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Lynette? No. All right. Anyone from the community that has any questions? All right. Thank you very much. Next is public comment for items not on the agenda. Are there any comments from the public?
Yes, we have Dave and Bev.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. I'm Dave Bolus, a Los Osos resident, and I'm also a member of the Board of Directors of Friends of the El Morro Elfin Forest, or FEMF, previously known as SWAP. We have an adopt a park agreement with the county to preserve and protect the Elfin Forest. As you may know, FEMF volunteers work to remove all the weeds, mostly veld grass, from the Elfin Forest, as well as from the side of South Bay Boulevard where it borders on the Elfin Forest. The county mows the veld grass along the very edge of South Bay Boulevard, but many areas still have thick growths of dry grass. Everyone has heard of the disastrous wind-driven fires in recent years that have destroyed towns like Sonoma, Paradise, and Talent, Oregon, and other parts of the drought-stricken West. Los Osos is just one strong wind and one spark away from a similar disaster. I've called County Public Works and CAL FIRE to ask about weed clearance, more weed clearance along South Bay Boulevard, and have heard no solutions that seem to be about to happen. I'm sure that CAL FIRE will do all they can if a fire gets started, but cutting all that fuel ahead of time could make a big difference. I don't know if a volunteer weed whacking day by local residents is the answer, but I'd like everyone to be aware of the danger we are all in and to pursue answers about cutting all those weeds. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Anyone else have a public comment? All right, I don't see any other hands up. All right, thank you very much. Let's move on to approval of minutes. First, let's approve the minutes from the meeting on May 27th. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 27th.
Do we have,
This is
do we have
Jan.
a second?
I'll second.
Yes.
Jan Harper, I'll
Thank
second.
you. Thank you, Jan. All in favor, raise your hand. Anyone opposed? I don't see any opposed. Okay, it passes. Now I'd like to approve the minutes from the emergency meeting on June 9th, which was by email. It was for the letter that went to Supervisor Gibson.
This is
Can
Jen
I-
Harper. I'll approve
Yes.
those minutes. I'll
Thank you.
make a motion.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
I'll second, yeah.
Thank you. And all in favor, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? All right, it passed. Thank you very much. We do not have a treasurer's report tonight, so let's move on to the committee reports. Land use, Larry?
We're going to be meeting in July. We changed the date. I believe it's the 6th. It's a Tuesday. We do have some things on the agenda. So we missed the meeting before, but there is some stuff to talk about. So to let everybody know. But instead of being on Monday the 5th of July, it's going to be on Tuesday the 6th. Same time, same channel. And also like to put out a shout out to Dave and Bev's group that they belong to. I know a lot of people might not be aware of it, but the Elfin Forest is taken care of by just local citizens of the community. And they've formed a group, and it's been around for quite a few years. It's Friends of the El Moro Elfin Forest. And so if anyone's interested, has some spare time, knows some friends or want to chip in and give them a hand, they're always looking for some people, to walk around the Elfin Forest and see what's going on. Otherwise, that's it.
Thank you, Larry. Traffic and circulation, Jan?
Yeah, this is Jen Harper, and I don't know if we're going to have a meeting in July. We'll have to wait and see. I'm trying to see if there's anything at the county, and there was one piece of information that came through that we're checking out. In the meantime, if you notice some issue with the road or the roadways or vegetation encroaching on your visibility, potholes, please give the county a call at 805-781-5252 and let them know. They don't cruise our roads every day, we do. So that's the way to get that going. If there's something that comes up, we will have a meeting in July. If not, we're going to wait until we can do it in person, because for me, Zoom is just a little bit much. Also, I've checked with South Bay Community Center. They're not open for a meeting anyway. So at this time, we're sitting fine. Again, that number is 805-781-5252. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Trees and landscaping, Yael?
Oh, hi, yes. So our committee has been centered on the El Moro bicycle and walking trail. We're still trying to figure out how to get the permits to start the work. We probably will have a question for Carrie Brown, but not tonight. Regarding Fish and Life and biological reports and the Los Osos, the habitat conservation report, and on and on and on. There are people on the committee that are still trying to figure out and reaching out to many areas in the county, and we still haven't figured it out. In the meantime, the committee took, since we could be socializing more, we took a walk together and photographed and catalog all the plants that are there that we can figure out that are nature, that are natives that need help, all the oak trees. We did a really extensive work. We're going to put it together, so we'll have some better idea, even the size and the enormity of this project. It's a huge project. We have been doing some other reaching out, and one of the issues that came up is fire hazard, because there is a lot of dry brush. And Lisa Denker, one of our members, did some contacting. So I would like, Lisa, can you take over and just quickly give us a report? Are you there? Lisa?
Yeah,
I
she
just
has
need to unmute her.
Oh.
Hold on.
Okay, I forget.
Okay.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hi. Let's see. The fire chief, Paul Provence, was sent a photo report with the description of the condition, the current condition of the El Moro pathway, which the condition generally is kind of overgrown, unkept. There's a lot of dead debris and die out, and the belt grass is very dry. He wrote back. The fire chief wrote back, and he said that he'd contact the responsible agency, which is Parks. Then it can be determined how and when mitigation can be done. So that's where we are with that. The park pathway, El Moro pathway, is the second park to Los Osos, second to the community park. And it's very unique because it threads a residential neighborhood. So on both sides, if overgrown and unkept, that is creating fire hazards going south and going north. So it's really critical. I know I'm going to try to follow up on this, and if anybody else wants to check in, I really feel for those residents, because right now there is dry brush right against their pretty much the entire block by block. That's it. Thanks.
Well, thank you. That's it for trees and landscape.
Thank you. Outreach, Sandra?
No, I put out the newsletter and the survey about going to Zoom or in person. So just still getting data back from that. And again, if anybody has any students or knows anyone that would want to help with social media and getting more of a social media presence on Facebook and Instagram, it would be a great student project. Maybe if you know any high schoolers or middle schoolers. That's it.
Thank you. Yael, you're back up for Unhoused Resident Forum.
Yes, so as you know, we are working with the unhoused residents on Palisade for providing them the basic hygiene services where they are right now. And the trash collection has been going on very well, even though you heard the comments before, but it's actually going very well. We're working on together with the supervisor Gibson and Blake Fixler, and people helping people to purchase shower unit that will be parked on a county property on 10th Street to be used by the unhoused residents. And that's still going on in progress. The long-term solutions that are even more kind of labor involved also involved the supervisor and Blake, and we were very, very lucky to have people self-help housing getting involved upon our inspiration and request to apply for a tiny house village project in Los Osos to house at least 25 residents. There'll be 25, hopefully, structures. This is in an initial stages, so there is no specific reports to details on the reports. People self-help are dealing with the county planning department regarding permits, and also funding, of course. So that's all. We are very cautiously optimistic that there will be a long-term solution for at least some of the residents, unhoused residents on Palisade Avenue.
Thank you very much. Okay, under regular agenda items, we have Catalina Hubbard. She is the Rideshare Outreach Coordinator for the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments. And I think I unmuted you.
Yeah, can everyone hear me? Awesome. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So, good evening. My name is Catalina Hubbard. I am actually a born and raised Lososian, so I'm really happy to be here with you guys. I work for the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, which is also known as Locac. So I'm going to give you a brief background of Locac and then kind of the reason why I'm here with you guys tonight. Okay. All right. So if you aren't familiar with Locac, we are a regional council and association of local governments comprised of 7 cities and the county. Our board has 12 elected members, 1 from each city council and all of the county board of supervisors, including Supervisor Gibson, who's here. Locac's main responsibility includes transportation planning and funding for the region. So we also serve as a forum for regional issues. Regional agencies like us plan, fund, and manage local transportation systems. We plan for all modes of travel, including cars, buses, trains, bikes, walkability, senior shuttles, and any other social service transportation. So what is a regional council, you might be wondering? A regional council is a group of local governments that come together to work on issues that are broader than just one jurisdiction. So those are issues like transportation, land use, air quality. They all need regional solutions because their issues don't stop at the boundary of any one local jurisdiction. Much of our agency's funding comes from the federal government through our designation as a metropolitan planning organization, also known as an MPO. But we also get state funding through our state designation as a regional transportation planning agency. So there's a total of 18 MPOs and 44 RTPAs in California, as you can see on this map. So like many of our neighboring regions, Locac is responsible for coordinating, planning, and programming transportation plans and projects countywide, developing and funding strategic plans, building consensus, and essentially connecting communities. So here's a few of our projects. We've been a regional entity for over 50 years, and we've helped fund hundreds of projects within the region. Some of the ones that you guys might recognize is like the Morro Bay Boardwalk down by like the Rock, the Elfin Forest land acquisition we helped fund, and pedestrian improvements on Santa Isabel. Those are some photos there. We also do infrastructure improvements with safe routes to school and non-infrastructure improvements for safe routes to school. So for instance, Baywood just got awarded 1 out of 10 schools regionally that's going to have some pretty extensive on-bike education through Bike Slow County, which is really cool. We're working with the PE teacher over there at Baywood, and we're going to get those kids on some bicycles next school year, which is really exciting. All right, so I work in the rideshare division. So some of these logos may look a little bit familiar to you. These are all programs that we implement to increase awareness and availability of transportation options and reduce costs for commuters. So really quickly, our Back and Forth Club works with employers to connect commuters to carpools and van pools. We work with about 1/3 of the entire commuting population of SLO County, which is really awesome. Our Safe Routes to School program helps make it safe, convenient, and fun for students to walk and bike to school. Our Know How to Go program provides seniors and people with disabilities with information on transit and shuttle services that get them to where they need to go. And anyone, anywhere in all of San Luis Obispo County can call 511 to learn more about transportation options. So that's a pretty cool service that I don't think a lot of people know about. So looking ahead, each one of the programs and projects I just mentioned all became what they are because they were identified as a need in our long-range regional transportation plan, also known as our RTP. So through this plan, each one received the funding for the implementation. In 2023, we're relooking at our RTP, and that's why I'm here today. The RTP will plan for transportation system investments and make policy recommendations through the year 2045. So we're on the early end of things, but we're really asking for some feedback. So every 4 years, Locac is required to update this 20-year document. It looks at how we get around our region in the future. It focuses on transportation-related issues such as reliability, livability, a healthy environment, and economic vitality. So the RTP, it essentially identifies existing and future regional transportation needs. It presents strategies to alleviate deficiencies in the region's transportation system. It allocates anticipated revenues. It prioritizes projects and planning studies, and it includes 4 distinct elements here that you can see on the screen. So the policy element, the action element, the financial element, and the sustainable community strategy, which is also called the SCS. So very briefly, the policy element sets our regional goals. It includes the vision, goals, and action strategies of the RTP. Second is going to be the action. The action element includes all modes of travel and matches available funding with investments and improvements. Next is the financial element, and that identifies projects for investment, available revenues, and funding assumptions. Funding for these investments can come from federal, state, or locally generated sources. Unfortunately, the majority of California's population, unlike the majority of California's population, our residents do not generate regional transportation funds through a local sales tax. So instead, we have to depend solely on local cities, the county, state, and federal budgets to support all of our transportation and investment needs. As a result, many of our projects on our prioritization list have no way of actually being funded within the timeframe of the plan. To put this kind of in simpler terms, we use 2 lists. Projects that are within the budget of expected funding are considered constrained, and projects that have been identified as a need but do not fit within the budget are considered unconstrained. So many beneficial highway improvements and transportation projects require funding that just exceeds the 25-year constraint level of funding, which then places them on the unconstrained projects list. So this is just a brief slide showing kind of the cost of improvements in our region. So as you can see, the ticket gets quite expensive there. So the last RTP element is sustainable community strategies, which helps us plan for growth and contains land use, housing, and transportation strategies that allow the region to meet its greenhouse gas reduction targets assigned by the state. In California, vehicles are the #1 source of greenhouse gas emissions, and because of that, land use and transportation must be considered jointly. So walkable, bikeable, transit-oriented communities reduce the need to drive and are more sustainable and efficient. But the mere existence of sidewalks and bike lanes and buses doesn't address the entire need. Walking and biking require more than just good sidewalks and bike lanes. They ultimately require destinations that are close enough to get to. So the same goes for transit. You're more likely to take the bus if it comes often and goes where you're headed. But in order for that to make sense economically, the proper balance of housing, employment, and services must be achieved. So Locac actually explores multiple housing, job, and transportation scenarios through modeling and testing as part of our SCS development process. And we really want your input to help us develop those scenarios. So that's the whole point of this, is that we're looking for your help to answer questions like, over the next 20+ years, how should our region grow? What transportation investments will provide the most benefits? How do we spread the benefits both equitably and reasonably across the entire region? This plan won't be adopted until spring of 2023, but we're already well in the development, and we need your help to plan for the future. So we currently have 5 surveys available, and there's going to be a mapping tool that you can use to identify new projects and help us prioritize the ones that we will learn about from all of our member jurisdictions. And updates can be found at slocog.org and in our newsletters. We also intend to host 2 public workshops to share the results of our surveys that we have out with you and go over the draft plan along with fact sheets to provide you with the basics. The 5 surveys include commute and travel, technology, transportation, funding and priorities, health and environment, and housing and new growth. All the surveys are available in both English and Spanish, so please provide us with your input and help spread the word. And that is all I have for you guys. I will drop the my email in the chat and the URL in the chat if you guys would like. And I'm happy to take any questions that you might have, any comments, whatever.
Okay, any comments from council?
Great presentation.
It was very good. You know what? I did have one question. I'm sorry. The question I had is you briefly talked about the Bob Jones Trail. Is that part of your plans to expand it further?
You know, that would probably be for a question for the planning side of the house.
Okay.
And yeah, unfortunately, they are all gone at this moment, but I would be more than happy to get that back to you. I know that ideally, I mean, we'd love to have Class 1 bike infrastructure all throughout the county, you know, so I know we did, I'm sure you guys heard, we just got funding to do another section, which is really exciting. So it's a constant struggle for money. So I can get back to you with the specifics on the Bob Jones Bike Trail.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Sandra, I think you had a question.
Yeah, thanks for all that info. I'm trying to digest it all, and I guess it's the first time I hear about the survey, so I'm really interested in that, and I'll try to find them and put them out through our network so people know about them. And I guess I'm also wondering, because there's a lot in terms of like transportation, whether it's, you know, buses or bikes or whatever, if there's any local on the ground like outreach that's being done to communities, or like through the library, or like what with parents or PTAs, like what's needed? I mean, is it like a bike path that's needed? I guess I'm just wondering how like the connection is being made to find out on the ground, like if there's a framework possibly that SLOCOG has for Los Osos specifically on areas that could be potential, or is it just totally open as far as like, oh, we need this or we need that, or, you know, there's been issues on Los Osos Valley Road near the library and down there. So I guess I'm trying to wrap around my head, like you could get a million suggestions, but how is that framework communicated of what we could actually suggest? Or
Totally. So I mean, there quite honestly isn't much framework about what the information that you can share with us. I mean, Supervisor Gibson knows our board is made up from representatives from all over the region. So ultimately it's up to them where the funding goes. But as far as people on the ground, myself and my coworker, Peter Williamson, we're the rideshare team, and we do a lot of outreach at schools. We actually had 100%, we run bike to work, or bike to school day, bike to work day, walk to school day. So we have a lot of contact with the schools. We actually had 100% participation for all the schools in Los Osos, which was really exciting for our hybrid kind of bike to school day this year. We also are in touch with employers. You know, we have Rantec. It is hard to reach, especially with COVID. It's hard to reach kind of the unincorporated sections of the county. We're really trying to make an effort to get to everyone. I just happen to live in Los Osos, so I'm invested in you guys. So we spoke at Rotary. If you guys have any suggestions of groups that would want to hear a presentation on the RTP or anything that SLOCOG does, we're almost always looking for feedback. we would love to do it. So my email, I put my email in the chat. Shoot me an email. We want to get out and, you know, talk to the community about what each community knows what they need best. So personally, I'd love to see bus service from Los Osos into San Luis, like without going through Morro Bay. I think that would be really helpful, but we have to have, we have to have the public input in order to see that it's a need. So that's kind of what this process is like, we all talk about how Los Osos Valley Road is unsafe. Take our surveys, tell us that Los Osos Valley Road is unsafe, and then that will be the justification to then argue that Los Osos needs funding to make it more safe, or whatever your concern is. So that's where we're at. I hope that answered your question, Ish.
Yeah, I think I'll reach out to you separately as far as just really being able to get the feedback from, like, if buses are even an option from San Luis to Morro Bay, people would need to know, like, oh, if I advocate for that, then yeah, maybe it'll happen, where the reality might be not, we don't even know that's an option. So yeah.
Okay. Is there any other questions for Catalina? Any questions from the community? Let me double check. I do not see any hands up. Great presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, now we're going to go over to business items. We don't usually have this many, but let's start off with the election for the treasurer. Do we have any Locac members who would be willing to become treasurer?
I'd like to nominate Tim.
Tim's not here tonight, but okay.
Yes.
Um,
I'd like to second
anyone
the
else?
nomination. I'd like to second the nomination.
Well, is there anybody interested before we nominate
Is there
someone that's
anyone
not here?
interested?
Is
Well,
there anyone?
I'm interested if Tim doesn't want to do it. So I would be interested, yes.
Okay.
So I would like to nominate Deborah, I guess, if it needs to be official.
Okay. Deborah is nominated and Tim is nominated. Without Tim being here, we have to make sure that he's got the time to do that and is willing to do that.
Well, I want to point out it doesn't take much time for that, so.
You know what, but you still have to ask the person if they're willing to do it.
I understand, I just thought it's a parenthesis kind of a little.
No, I know. We don't have that much money, so it does not take a lot of time, but it still is a job that requires some work. So, I don't want to just tell someone they've got the job. Right. And we've already
a vote by mail?
Waited a month. Pardon?
Can we do a vote by mail? Email?
Email.
I mean, Tim is not here, so we
Correct.
need to get this going. Supervisor
We do.
Really told us we're kind of on a deadline here.
Well, I think we'll check in with Tim. If Tim's interested, then we can take the next step. But if he's not even interested, then we can move beyond.
We will ask Deborah to say, please. Okay, so I will reach out to Tim.
We have a raised hand.
Yeah, Blake has a question. Okay.
Blake?
Can you guys hear me okay? It looks like
yes.
it. Okay, great. I just wanted to say that while we do, encourage you to apply sooner rather than later, I will make sure that any money that Locac needs is set aside in the budget. So don't be afraid that we're going to spend it before you get there. You guys are,
we may
you guys
need
are
that
safe.
one or two.
I know to make sure there's some for you guys every year.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you, Blake.
Sorry, I had to let the German Shepherd in. All right, so I will contact Tim in the morning and see what I can do about that one. Talking about Zoom versus in-person meetings. Any thoughts from the group about whether they want to continue Zoom or go in person?
I personally would like to see if we can explore a hybrid option. I mean, I from the newsletter I sent out, I did get a handful of direct emails to me expressing that people would not attend in person if we went back to in person. And then based on the survey, which I still need to assess, but there was a much higher response of people that said they went to more meetings when they were on Zoom. At the same time, many people said they would also come to in-person meetings, especially if it was an issue that was like really important to them. So it feels a little split, but there are definitely a group of people that would not be able to attend if it went back to in-person. So I don't know if we can explore different hybrid options.
I do know that our participation rate has been much higher. It's been in the mid 20s to 40 people at the Zoom meetings. And I personally don't remember ever seeing groups like that in person, unless we were talking about vacation rentals, and then we did. But
I
and so we've heard from Sandra. Can we hear from the rest on what your thoughts are?
Yeah,
just a little history on this. Before I came on board Locac, they did actually have a camera and try to run it like the CSD meetings with microphones and all old school stuff. And it was very hard to find people to operate the equipment. With the new technology the way it is now, I think it could be done a lot easier. One, if we all had our iPhones in front of us, we could be Zooming that, and one person would have to turn a phone around to who's ever speaking. You know, that way we could have an in-person meeting along and Zoom the rest of the meeting, and it would all be recorded, which would be very nice. But it still requires, as people are learning right now, to monitor Zoom, you know, and check people in and do the microphones and all this. It requires attention. You know, somebody independent of a member, you know, to operate this, that they don't care what's being talked about. They're just making sure everyone's face is there and everything's being recorded. And that's just my thought into it. I would love a hybrid meeting. Again, it attracts more people.
Sue?
Well, I guess if we're just, thank you, Larry, for that. I suppose if you just want our opinions, I would be happy to stick with Zoom until we really know what's going to happen down the road, a few months, with everybody opening up, seeing where it gets us. I mean, it's still about our health and our concern. Maybe we could ask someone like Sandra, sorry, don't mean to volunteer you, but who seems interested in trying to find out a different way. Maybe we could put off our decision for a month or two and research possibilities that would make more people feel more comfortable. I agree with you. We've had many more people on these Zoom meetings than we usually have regularly at meetings. So I hesitate to just jump right back into in-person meetings until we really all feel comfortable.
James?
Hi, yeah, my preference is to do a live and in-person meeting. I think while there clearly are some efficiencies to be had from Zoom meetings, I think the quality of interaction, the quality of the meetings, the quality of the relationships you build is much higher in in-person setting. I think you just don't get that through Zoom. It's a lower quality interaction ultimately. So I would advocate for in-person meetings. And I think a hybrid model, if the vast majority of the people are doing a virtual meeting and only one or two people show up in person, it's essentially a virtual meeting anyway. So Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Any other comments from Lynette?
Yeah, whoever becomes the treasurer will, if we do go back to in-person meetings, even if it's not right away, we'll need to rent someplace again. So I'm not sure how that process went. You know, somebody hopefully will tell the new treasurer how to do that and where our options are and what the costs are. And there probably will be some kind of cost to a hybrid meeting as well. I mean, I like the hybrid idea because having more people participate is really important, and people that aren't necessarily on any topic. I mean, there's quite a few people here that haven't talked. They haven't said anything. They're just interested in being at the meeting. Whereas if it was in person, they may not show up at all. And I think our mandate is to include as much of the community as possible. So if we can do this in a hybrid fashion, that would be my vote.
Okay,
and
thank
what
you.
about a hybrid model whereby committee members attend in person and the public has the option to attend virtually? I mean, that would might be an option as well.
Absolutely. Anyone else from the council who wants to talk about it? Yael?
As much as I like to mingle personally, I would still like to keep it on Zoom, even for the sake of the health of our community, because we don't know if the variants are gonna, come back. Other states and other countries have going back and forth, so we don't know really that we are all, past the pandemic. So I would rather stay home. But it's also, I have to admit, I can get more things done. I can get more meetings done, more activities done when it's on Zoom. But that's personal. I cannot, I can't judge for everyone. So personally, I still enjoy the Zoom.
Okay.
But I'll go, of course, with anything that the group, choose to do.
All right, so it looks like we have about 3-ish for hybrid, 2-ish for Zoom, and about 2-ish for in-person. So what I'm thinking is, how about if Sandra and I put our head together, we'll work with Blake also, see what we can do about a hybrid model. We'll come back to you guys next month, see what we can find out, because even if we do in person, it's going to take us a month or two to get something rented, get it in the budget, all of that. So does that sound all right to do? Do a little research for 1 month for in-person / a hybrid model and do it that direction?
We do have a couple public members that have raised their hand.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
that would be Dave and Bev first.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Bev and I were among those who voted in favor of a hybrid meeting. And we're concerned, as several other people have mentioned, about the variant virus that may or may not be popping up. Also wondering about whether it's just the season that's causing the rate of infection to drop, just like it did the end of last spring. The infections went way down. But lastly, aside from the pandemic, I think there are people who just can't attend or find it inconvenient to attend in person. And so I would suggest that if the council is willing to meet in person and the rest of us have an option, that would be the best solution for a while. And I think, as Larry mentioned, technology has improved. So, what we're doing now isn't that hard, and I can't see how having a hybrid meeting would be that much harder. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, Lisa Danger.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. I like the idea of hybrid, but I was thinking of another hybrid. What if there was a physical meeting, let's say 4 or 5 times a year. And then the other meetings or whatever's left would be Zoom or hybrid. There might be a compromise.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Just again, if we're talking of renting a place, Sea Pines again, they gave us a great deal on the room, but that's because we did it for the year.
Right.
That we have to keep in mind, so that a mixed or conglomerate thing, is they would like a commitment. We're going to have the room 1 day a month every year, for a whole year. Just so you know that's their, and we got a great price on it, so it was worth doing it. The community center wasn't quite as workable with us on that. Also, it's more expensive.
Well, maybe that can be part of our research as far as what would be the cost if we were to go every month or, part of the month, and then build all of that into the budget, just to know what it is we're working with or what our options are.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing in conclusion is that Sandra and I are going to do a little bit of research on hybrid. We'll figure out if we do decide that we need to do some in person, then we'll check out a location, Sea Pines, see what we can get if they do have a room available. And we will come back to the next meeting with what we have found out. Does that sound good?
Yes, I vote for
Okay. Thank you. All right then. No conclusion, but we're a little bit closer. The next thing that I wanted to discuss is our committee meetings that we do have. And I know that everyone and their committees are doing a great job. And I just want to make sure that everything that we do is being documented, because I think there's great work being done. When I took over as chair, I went back and I read the bylaws and the policies and procedures just so that I understood them one more time. And just as a reminder, we are supposed to, by the bylaws, every Locac member has to be on a committee. So I know we have 2 new Locac members that we are trying to schedule a orientation for. So that's something you have heard the committees tonight. So we do need to have every Locac member on at least one committee, and they have to be active. It can't be that you go to a Zoom call and you do nothing, or you go to a meeting and you do nothing. You have to be active in those committees. That's part of what the bylaws say. So I just wanted to kind of do a reminder tonight for after reading the bylaws. The bylaws also state that each committee must have 2 Locac members, and they need to appoint 1 to 3 public members. So that's not to say we can't amend bylaws or policies and procedures, but I wanted to hear kind of what the group thought about the way that the bylaws are now written on the number of Locac members and public members and the number of public members. Can we have some discussion on that tonight?
This is Jen Harper. I mean, I understand about having the public members on land use, because land use has a lot of business all year. What I've noticed, at least with traffic and circulation, is that, we have things here and there, and, at the maximum, I have 10 people,
Okay,
you know, and I'm just,
right.
so the way I have worked that meeting is anybody that's there is part of the discussion. And if there's anything we vote on to recommend to Locac board, anybody there can vote. So, I mean, that's
Okay.
how I've done that. So I don't know that we need to be so big about the public, other than, you know, we really want to stretch out like Sandra's trying to do to get people to participate. But other than that, I feel the way we've been doing it is fine. And I think it's important that we have minutes. And I think the minutes need to be shared with all of Locac all the time.
Right.
And same thing with announcement of your agenda item, your agenda. I mean, I think all Locac members should get all information about minutes, agenda, and stuff like that. Because I know I don't hear about that, and I'm not going to go to the and check the website every day. It's a lot easier for me to get the agenda of land use. And, you know, it's easy to set up your personal email. I send out everything all the time to everybody. And I also send it out to the CSD just to keep people informed. So I think that's another way to do the outreach. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Jan. Any other comments from the group?
I've seen Jan run traffic and circulation. She's done a wonderful job on it. But it's again, I've seen sometimes 2 people there and again, up to 10 people there. So that having a requirement of, 2 Locac members and, 4 public members or 3 public members, for traffic and circulation might be pushing it,
Well, Jan has two members from Locac on her committee. I'm one of them.
And how many public members show up at the meetings?
Well, it depends. Sometimes the room is full.
Well, but I mean, could you get 3 public members to join the committee?
Or
that's
one?
What our bylaws. That's what our bylaws are saying.
No.
At least one, not 3.
One. It's
Oh,
one
okay.
public.
We can count
mean,
on Vicky. She's always there.
Okay, it's fine with me. I'm just again conforming to the bylaws. And if it does conform with Jan and Lynette and Steve, then it's fine.
Okay.
I'm trying to support it, without bending the bylaws.
Yeah,
I'm a chair of 2 committees, and I would appreciate a person, another Locac member on my trees and landscape. I can continue doing it alone, but I would like to have somebody that's interested. Maybe one of the new members. I know that we had a nice visit from James. I don't know if he's interested, but it was very nice having him there. Both of the committees that I chair, they're very different from the land use committee. We do not have agendized item coming to us from the county. We are making our own agenda, and it's mostly working on projects. So it's an ongoing project, and mostly in trees and landscape, there is no division, like Jan said, between Locac members and public members. Some of our public members are actually the more know-how than myself and whoever going to be there from Locac. So I'm relying on them, and we're doing a lot of work and we sometimes communicate in between meetings, and we're working together very, very well. So it's like one group, there is no really voting at all. We kind of discuss together and we move on to the next step to achieve what we want to achieve. And very similarly, it's in the unhoused committee. We don't really have voting. We're really trying to figure out how to go. We have very straightforward mission statement, very straightforward goals. It's just who is doing what and how we're pushing forward and how we connect with the county, with the supervisor, with other groups. So I think that each of the committees are really working on differently. I call the trees and landscape and the unhoused residents, I call it more like advocacy committees because we advocate for projects, and it takes a lot of work. But and we do the unhoused committee definitely have minutes. Sometimes the trees and landscape we don't even have minutes because but we do post our recording, our meetings there, so people can go and check it out, because it's really talking again about, I talked to this person there and they did this and we did that. So it's really hard to be procedural, stickler on procedure in that way. But we always have agenda, and in the unhoused committee, we definitely have minutes as well. As far as inviting sending everything to Locac, I am not sure that everybody wants to get all of these emails. I'll be more than happy to send it everywhere. I do send invitation to public members that I think are interested in both committees. So we definitely have a long list that is invited to both of the committees outside of those that actually coming, with the hope that they will come. So that's all I have to say about these two committees.
Okay, thank you. Deborah?
Yeah, I'd like to say that prior to being elected, I reached out to the community and I had more comments to me about unsafe conditions on the road as far as walking and biking. We all know how much we love our dogs and we walk on the streets with no sidewalks, and the cyclists. And so I have asked Jan if I can go on, I would like to be on the traffic committee so that I can talk and address some of these issues that I was told are a priority for my constituents, which, I think really affects all of Los Osos, because we are such a great community of people who love to walk, and we have such a beautiful place to walk.
Thank you.
And
all right.
That's one more thing. I'm open definitely to have another person on the unhoused committee, because we do have room. So I know we had a visit, so I don't know what is the person wants to do. I don't want to put anybody on the spot here.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I had a nice visit, and I would like to be on the unhoused committee. So
James even joined us on a barbecue this week on Tuesday, and I think it was the most calm barbecue we ever had. So not too much drama, even though the day itself was pretty dramatic, but the barbecue was very nice and calm.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to working with you folks on that.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, except for land use, that there probably needs to be a little bit of bylaws amended so that it's not as structured and strict for all of the committees that we have. Is that in agreement from what I'm hearing?
Well, I don't know if it's really strict right now. I think the only strict point is that there needs to be 2 Locac members and 1 public member.
Correct.
That's the strict point. And that doesn't seem impossible to me. I mean, Jan, even if you have 3 people or 10 people, how it varies, would it be possible for each committee to have at least 1 public appointed member? And then I think it's fine for chairs to run the meetings however they run, whether they want everybody to vote or only appointed people to vote or not. Because like Yael said, most of the meetings are pretty informal. It's group discussion. It's And that's great. I'm just wondering if there's ever a situation that comes up where there does need to be a vote, or, and for transparency and validity, to have at least a public member on a committee. So I guess my question is, do we need to amend it to say that no public members are necessary except for land use, or could each committee still come up with at least one public appointed member? Because that is the only, really the stickler.
That's the only thing, one public member per committee.
I think it's absolutely necessary, needed to have public members. I mean, we are working for the public. I mean, it's absolutely necessary, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if I would cancel a committee if we don't, but we'll ask to maybe do some outreach and to kind of drag some public members in or something. I don't know. But for us in our committees, the public is as important as Locac. So and it has more validity, in my opinion.
I mean, so for outreach, we haven't really had a meeting in a really long time. Partially COVID, partially me. There's no public member, but there are multiple Locac members, but I'm willing to, re-engage that and get a public member.
Yeah, it's surprising that because that's.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I haven't tried very hard, but so I guess that's really the question. Does that need to be amended? Does anyone feel like we need to not have a requirement for one public member?
One.
But I would not close the committee either. See, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're going to send no outreach because of that. So.
No, we're not. The goal is not to close a committee. The goal is to help with the committees and help the committee chairman to get their one public person.
Right.
That's at least appointed, that's on the roster, and that is commits, whether they show up or not, that can be dealt with later, but at least that they're committing to showing up.
Yeah. All right. Is there anyone who thinks that that's impossible within their committees and wants to amend, or can we keep the bylaws as is and just remind everyone that we need one public member?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think we have a consensus that we need one public member, and we are not deleting committees. We are just trying to help people get public members. Good?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. The next on the agenda, creation of a non-political ad hoc water committee. The purpose of this is that there is so much information going around right now on the Los Osos water issues. And what we really need is unbiased informational network to get us the information. And with talking with Deborah and also with James, they would love to help put together an ad hoc water committee. And if I could turn this over to Deborah, she has talked about what the purpose of this will be and how we can keep it unpolitical and just get the information, state, regional, and the basin management, pull it all together and give us the information and the links that we need to learn more. Deborah, you're on.
Thanks, Trish. So this really came about very naturally because being a new member of Locac, I was doing some research for myself so I could educate myself on water issues. And this is a very complex issue with sort of like octopus arms. It goes in a lot of directions. And it's confusing, I think, if you don't get it organized. So fortunately for us on Locac, we have James now, who is actually a part of a water system. He's a staff member at the Regional Water Control Board. And so he and I will as members of this ad hoc committee, our purpose is to present information to Locac regarding local issues, Los Osos water issues, including reporting on any actions, whether it's the county or the BMC that will be affecting us. And in addition, we want to place these issues in a larger context in terms of regional and state water issues, water policies, and opportunities. So our presentation to you will be unbiased. We will, whenever possible, provide you with links to our sources of information, so that if you choose to go a little deeper and make more detailed inquiries, you can do that. I thought maybe Supervisor Gibson would talk about this tonight, but since he didn't bring up this one subject on AEM, maybe James could briefly describe what that's about and how that might affect us here locally in Los Osos. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. So if you were at the BMC meeting last week, you probably heard about the AEM effort that's underway statewide. And if you weren't, I'm going to give you the high level summary of what that is. And essentially the Department of Water Resources, which is a state agency, is going to be conducting this geophysical surveying over many of the groundwater basins in the state. Surveying is called aerial electromagnetics, and what it can do is it can provide an image of the subsurface hydrogeology and basically provide information on relevant geologic and hydrogeological features underground. The surveying is being offered to basins that are classified as either medium or high risk under the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. The Los Osos Basin is unfortunately classified as very low risk under SGMA, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, and is therefore not eligible for this surveying. Part of the reason we're classified as low risk is because we're an adjudicated basin, and therefore we're essentially outside of SGMA. Had the basin not been adjudicated before SGMA was implemented, we almost certainly would be very high risk and would be receiving this surveying. The surveying could provide a wealth of information for the basin. It can provide really useful information on the extent of seawater intrusion, which is of course one of the major problems facing the basin. It can provide some information on how effective our Broderson leach field is working. And we know that DWR is actively soliciting comments from groups regarding additional basins that should be considered for this surveying. Outside of the medium and high priority basins. So as one of the things I do at the regional board is act as a SGMA liaison for our region, and I've submitted comment to DWR advocating for Los Osos. I know that Dan Heimel, the BMC executive director, has contacted DWR requesting that Los Osos be surveyed. And I think there's some benefit in having more voices from Los Osos express interest in receiving this surveying, because we know they're going to survey the San Luis Obispo Basin. It wouldn't be that much of a stretch for them to fly over here and quickly survey Los Osos as well. So, and Deborah had a few good ideas, which are that maybe Locac could submit a letter to DWR or to our state senators, requesting that Los Osos be considered for the surveying. I understand that Supervisor Gibson will be submitting a letter to this effect as well. So I think that's one of the things that Deborah and I wanted to discuss with the group.
Yeah. So it's my understanding, and Supervisor Gibson, if you're still here and want to, jump in here, but I know you're really spearheading this effort and working with Senator Laird, who is our representative at the Senate, to try to get this flyover, which would be so beneficial for our basin. And what's really wonderful about Senator Laird is that he was the in charge of natural resources for California, for the state of California, back in 2011 to 2019. So he knows how this works. He knows how important it is. And so he would be a great advocate for us. What I would like for Locac to do is support Supervisor Gibson in, approaching Senator Laird, approaching Representative Cunningham and saying, yes, we as a community really want this. So this is the kind of information we want to bring to Locac. This is the kind of information that we feel will be useful and that we can actually lend our voices to.
It sounds great.
So
You have any?
what's the ask? Or
I guess the
Deborah?
ask is if Deborah and I work together to draft a letter on behalf of Locac, you know, to DWR or to Senator Laird or whomever, would, you know, Locac be in support of submitting that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And you can form that group too. You've got my vote for being a water group.
Yeah, I think we have two things on the table right now. The first one is we need a motion to accept a new committee into Locac, and it would be an ad hoc water committee. That would be the first one. And the second one would be the EMC letter to go to Gibson, Laird, and Cunningham.
This is
So-
Jen Harper. I'll make that
Yes.
motion to approve an ad hoc committee of James and Deborah to keep us informed on water issues.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I
Lynette?
just have a
Thank you.
question. What's an ad hoc? Like, what does that mean? How does that differentiate from others? Is it what?
To me, the ad
Can you
hoc
explain that
is
term?
not a meeting that has to meet every month at a certain time. It is ad hoc is normally a shorter term where it's informational and it gets to you, and it's not a big committee. It's just a way to get information to a committee. It's an ad hoc. And maybe committee is not the right name.
We have had ad hoc committees before. The Unhoused Citizens Committee, that was an ad hoc committee before it became a real committee. So we've done it in the past.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a vote on a ad hoc water committee? All in favor?
Aye.
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 And anyone opposed? No opposed. Okay, passed. What about the letter? Do we have a motion to write a letter to Gibson, Senator Laird, and Cunningham in regards to the electronic mapping by helicopter survey?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
And Yael, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No opposed. Okay, you two?
Could I just bring up one more thing that might be of
Absolutely.
interest? And I'm sure James knows about this. I'm not sure if Deborah does. The county has a water advisory committee called the RAC, the Water Resources Advisory Committee. They usually don't meet in the summer, but they meet generally once a month. They're online now, of course. They used to meet at the library in San Luis Obispo in that spare room that they have. And if you're interested in water and how we relate to water in the whole county, it's a very valuable meeting. I used to attend for years. I haven't lately, but you can learn a lot about what other water companies and what other CSDs, and actually they have different people from like vineyards. There's a mix of people. It's a fairly large committee. So they usually meet once a month on a Wednesday. You'd have to just Google within the county website, Water Resources Advisory Committee, and you could find out about that. And of course, we've had a prominent place in it earlier on before our sewer. So if anyone's interested, that is another interesting resource.
Thank you, Lynette.
And
All right.
This is
We
Jan.
have,
Hold on.
yes, Jan?
I'd like to also make sure that the letter, one, that we get a copy, and I think we should also copy the BMC.
Right,
And,
I agree.
and probably the water purveyors also.
Okay.
Well, the water purveyors are on the BMC, so they would get They would get the copy.
Okay. And just make sure.
The concept is to support the effort that's already undergoing. So the BMC is writing a letter. And so we're really just going to be, adding to the momentum here of what everybody's saying. And I want to mention that there is a website. James knows this better than I do, but there is a website where it goes into detail about how this aerial mapping is done, what's involved. And there's a page on the website called Frequently Asked Questions. And so if you have questions, we will get you that, the link to that website, and you can go there and you can see to whatever detail you want about this particular mapping. So again, want to make sure that you have as much information as you care to digest.
Yeah, I just
Thank
sent
you.
the link to Trish, so maybe she can share that with the group.
I will. Thank you.
I'd like to put it on the website, so please share.
I will get that tomorrow morning. How's that?
Sue has her hand up,
Sue,
and then
Sue had a question next.
I just wanted to thank Deborah and James very much for doing this. Fantastic. We need this so much, and I appreciate that you guys are stepping up to do this. Thank you very much.
And
Yeah,
just, I wanted to make sure that suggest rather that maybe Lynette, you can make a page for the ad hoc committee so they can
Yeah.
with your help, of course, with your ongoing help. I want to thank Lynette. Take this opportunity. She posts things right away on the website, wherever she is, even on a vacation.
Yep, you're great.
Minutes and an agenda and connect and recordings, everything. So I really want to thank you. So anyway, a page for this ad hoc committee would be great. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, like your ad hoc committee, I gave you one too. So yes, it will be up.
Okay, great.
Great.
Okay, the last thing, and I know Sandra has to jump off, and I think I can do it in case you have to jump off, Sandra. And the last thing is that Sandra and I and Sue met this morning because as a new chair, I'm just trying to find things that are on the computer. And what we are talking about is coordinating all of our documents on gmail.com, on Google, so that we can have a central place. I don't have all of the information right now, but maybe Sandra, since you're back on, can talk about it just for a second.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna replace our info, our general email that's linked to the website that has a lot of problems, that breaks, that sometimes we don't get messages. We're gonna transfer to a Gmail, locacinfo@gmail, which will also be able to house all our documents, because right now documents are everywhere. We've had to retype things. So I'm happy to do a training for folks on like how to use Google Docs, but to have a central location where things are kept. So minutes can be kept there, signature pages can be kept there. So when we're all gone, there's still the documents there, and people, it'll be sustainable. That's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Anything else that people need to talk about as far as business items? No, I'm going to keep the business items on the agenda every month. So if there's something that comes up that we can improve our process, that's going to be the place that we can discuss it and do some improvement. If not, we are adjourned.
Good job, Trish.
Thank you.
Good job, Trish.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate all your hard work.
Thank
Everyone.
you.
All right. I will try to end this. Bye.
Just end.